Star Fox, a series all about flying and shooting at enemies, first created on the Super Nintendo and drastically improved on the Nintendo 64. Rare, a British game developer responsible for some of the Nintendo 64's greatest games, such as Conker's Bad Fur Day. The two meet in Star Fox Adventures, and the result is a Star Fox game more like The Legend of Zelda. Can Star Fox fight as well on land as he does in the cockpit, or should he leave the adventuring to the adventurer? Fox and his crew are recruited by General Pepper to save a prehistoric planet, Dinosaur Planet. It's a delicate planet in bad shape. Pieces of the planet are now floating in the planet's orbit rather than attached to the Earth. Fox has been instructed to abandon both his R-Wing and his blaster. He obviously isn't happy with this, but he continues on either way. He finds a retractable staff that is seemingly abandoned nearby and decides to use it as a weapon. He finds the Queen Earthwalker, one of the rulers on Dinosaur Planet, and is tasked with finding her son, Prince Tricky. He finds the Prince Earthwalker and is then tasked with taking him to several temples across the scattered pieces of the planet in order to piece the planet back together. It's not a terrible story, and it's pretty cool for Star Fox, which usually has simple stories. It's very much like The Legend of Zelda, seeing as it's inspired by it from a gameplay point of view, and Rare is good at taking an idea and turning it into their own. This is not surprising. Overall, it's a fun ride to see what happens. The gameplay is a little less polished than most of Rare's titles, but it's still solid. It plays a lot like The Legend of Zelda. You target enemies and fight them with your staff, which Fox seems to be very skilled with. The combat is as simple but looks more flashy. You run around and collect items, maps, and keys to progress. Instead of items in each dungeon, you get different powers that are mostly used for progression. The dungeons are designed in a similar way to Zelda's as well. There are large puzzles and enemy gauntlets that end in a boss fight. If you played Zelda, then you know how this plays. The main difference is the overall lack of polish. Fox's jumps are slow and floaty, his running can feel strange, and the world is very strangely designed. He can't move while defending in combat either, making defense less of a factor. The game is quite long, even though there are about half the dungeons in Ocarina of Time. You can find items that raise your life, similar to Zelda, and there are plenty of secrets to find in the world, many of which require Tricky to reach. Tricky can do various things, such as digging or blowing fire, that allows you to reach areas you couldn't before. There are also challenges required to complete the story, the Krazoa Spirits. You find these scattered around the world, and a challenge needs to be completed to obtain them. When they are obtained, you need to take them back to Krazoa Palace. This area, and the Krazoa in general, give off a very Metroid feel, similar to the Chozo artifacts in Metroid Prime. Overall, even though it is very unpolished, it's still an enjoyable game. If you like Zelda, you should enjoy this. The audio is a little mixed. The music doesn't really leave an impression, but the voice work is good. It's similar to Conker's Bad Fur Day in that the Rare employees voice the characters themselves. It can sound a little goofy, and the dinosaur language can sound a little cheesy, but Rare did a good job voicing Fox at the very least. visuals stand out from the rest of the game. They are fantastic. Fox's character model is fur tech, and the environments and other characters are really detailed. The animations are a little rigid, which seems to be pretty common in this time, but Fox's animations are great. The environments are nice and varied, detailed, and full of items to break and enemies to fight. Some areas are so large and detailed that it's surprising that there are no forced loading screens. Rare definitely knows how to get the most out of whatever console they are working on. Time for a little history lesson about this game. This was not meant to be a Star Fox game. It started as a new game simply called Dinosaur Planet and was meant to have multiple playable characters. One of these characters was named Crystal, and she was stone with a staff, much like how Fox fights in Star Fox Adventures. If you look at some of Fox's animations, they look very feminine, which would mean that the game's changes were brought on late in development, and Rare left Crystal's animations in the game used by Fox. Crystal actually appears in the game and is playable in the beginning, using the same animations as Fox. It means nothing really, just something I noticed while playing. Overall, if you like Zelda, then you should take a look at Star Fox Adventures. It's nothing other than a Zelda game developed by Rare. It's not as polished as any 3D Zelda game, but still a fun and great looking game with an interesting story. Sure, some of the voice acting is a little cheesy sometimes and the music doesn't really stand out, but the Zelda formula works even with Star Fox. Fans might dislike Fox outside of the R-Wing, but no one can deny that the game is actually good, regardless of this fact. Fox earns his team a 7.5 out of 10.